The arse of giant beasts. Giant arse beasts. No, giant beasts of arse. Yes, that show. We had our first 2 episodes of Giant Beasts of Arse, a new series that is airing in the winter 2023 anime season. I have to admit, coming into this series, I had a little bit of expectations for it just based on who is the actual writer behind it, which, yes, is the creator of School Live, a manga series that I really, really do enjoy. But yes, there's a bit of a caution here in the idea of somebody going from zombies, cute girls, to fantasy, gigantic titan slaying, fantastical story here. But does this fantasy original by Asahi Production hold up? We're going to get into that with my first impressions of this 12-episode series that is airing in the winter 2023 anime season, so let's jump right into it. Giant Beast of Arse, hopefully I'm not getting demonetized for that word. It's ARS YouTube. Giant Beast of Arse opens up in a world of humans and beasts. And based on some backstory, we get an idea that the gods themselves created all these lands, and it was a great lands. But then at some point, the humans decide to pretty much conquer all the lands, take all the lands for themselves. And the beasts didn't like this. So all the beasts started attacking the humans themselves and consuming them. And as the show opens up, we follow this girl who is escaping from this prison. It seems like she's a test subject. She's number 22. And she immediately goes to get something to eat before she flees the prison. And she seems to be a very important test subject, as this empire does everything they can to try to find her. And she flees to a nearby village where she eventually comes across a merchant named Mia. And Mia has this ring that this girl, this prisoner, is very interested in. It's the Ring of Promise, which is a ring that is worn by the one that will eventually save Arse, which is seemingly this world. From another perspective, we meet this guy named Jiro. And Jiro is a spearman. And he's pretty much what is known as a giant hunter. Somebody who is paid to go out and kill these giant monsters, these beasts. Well, during his exploit of a recent killing of this giant beast boar, he catches the attention of a guy named Mizami, who seemingly is the one that's leading the research for this girl, this prisoner. He seems to believe that Jiro reminds him of a paladin, which we'll get into that in a minute. Cut forward, the Empire eventually finds this prisoner, they go to capture her, but then she seems to go berserk as she's being struck by arrows. This black dust comes out from her, and whatever it touches, the people themselves just kind of rot. They just turn to black and disappear. At the same time, a gigantic beast suddenly appears at this village. And Jiro spots this happening, and he immediately knows what's going on. He goes to this prisoner and embraces her. And this is where we get a kind of an insight as to essentially what is being used in this world to fight against these giant beasts. While the beasts themselves consume the humans fight back with the power of the gods. And this seems to take the form of paladins and clerics. This prisoner, who she calls herself Kumi because she's number 22. Kumi is a cleric. And clerics are these beings with extreme power. But unfortunately, that power is uncontrollable. They release miasma, and the miasma, whatever it touches, destroys. So without being in check, essentially clerics can kill everybody. So they need the assistance of a paladin. Paladin that's able to kind of get around this and control that power. And yes, Jiro is one such paladin. So he forms a contract with Kumi before drawing her essence into himself, empowering himself so that he can take out this giant beast. And what kind of follows this is Jiro's like, all right, everything's cool now. You should get out of here. The Empire's after you. I don't know why the Empire's after you, but I don't want them to be involved. And so Jiro just kind of leaves. Thankfully, Mia steals his spear so that he will have to come back to them. Kumi and Mia get captured by the Empire. Jiro comes in and pretty much saves them, and then now they're traveling together. But only to the next village, which they're going to separate again, because Jiro's super tsundere. But no, you get a sense from Jiro that in his past, like 5 years prior, again, he was a paladin, and he was pacted with this person named Toka. And Toka seemingly had lost her life during combat against some giants, or giant beasts. Beasts of Arse. In the background, you get a sense the Empire itself, this big kingdom itself, is trying to unify Arse as one kingdom. So while it's seemingly one of this princess, Tsurugi, she's trying to get the emperor himself to realize it's a bad idea. You can't separate our troops. We need to focus on the giants. They're wanting to, yes, handle the giants, but at the same time split their forces to take down the barbarians or other groups of people to, again, unify this kingdom. And yes, this mad scientist crazy guy that keeps chunking down crystals and watching every time Kumi disappears and runs off and says, she's a great success. Whatever. So my thoughts on Giant Beasts of Arse. It's all right. It's all right so far. I'm not going to claim that there's anything at all really of this show that's doing anything good. It's just kind of a fantasy power show of killing gigantic beasts while at the same time the Empire is super evil. I'm not really getting a sense here of anything super special so far. It is kind of surprising, I will admit, kind of surprising that the first episode didn't have some super mind bend, kind of like the original School Live. Again, same writer, creator of the manga. But I will admit that my expectations of this based on the mangaka of School Live is kind of unfounded. It's not as if this massive change in genre is going to leave me with any expectations whatsoever. Again, cute girls and zombies versus giant beast titans and super-powered servants that slice down things when they become empowered by girls absorbing inside of them. It's just kind of, so far, very standard fare for that type of show. For a long time, we used to get tons of shows where it was guy meets mystical girl, the mystical girl turns into a weapon for him to defeat the bad guy. It's been kind of a while since we've really had that surge in genre or thematic elements, trope, thing. And like I said, so far it's not really doing anything unique with it. Other than the fact that I would say, and yes, it's kind of been covered in a few of them, other than the fact that I think it's unique in the idea that if somebody does not control that power, if the paladin itself if a paladin does not make the pact with one of these clerics, they can essentially be more harm to humans than good. I think the more interesting thing about the overall story is that the first presentation of that story in the first episode was 30 years prior. And this person literally said that, do you know where the giant beast came from? And this cleric didn't know. He said the gods sent the beast to consume the humans. So in that story, they're claiming that the beasts were created by the gods to destroy the humans, to consume the lands. It was completely different than the narrative that was placed at the beginning of the second episode, which I don't know if it's an indication of what the story is based on 30 years later, or if it's just the narrator telling the real story, which I think is a little bit of a mess up by the writing. But in that second episode, they describe it as being God created the lands, they became lush, humankind claimed all the land, and the beasts retaliated. But additionally, that the beasts themselves attacking the humans called upon the power of the gods, which indicates the gods granted them that power when they asked for it. Because yes, if the gods told the beasts to kill the humans, why would they answer the call of the humans for power? It's really getting into that gray area of really not really understanding exactly what is unfolding in the background. What do the gods want? Did they create the clerics to destroy the humans, but the humans somehow managed to tame them? It's a little bit of a story intrigue there, which, yes, I have this kind of little bit of sliver of hope that might turn into something really interesting later on. It's just that we're not quite there yet. These first two episodes really did feel like a lot of just very slow setup. Like, it's not trying to speed through these character introductions. It's really taking its time to bring Jiro and Kumi and, yes, Mia together. The action scenes are fantastic. I've enjoyed the action scenes so far. I didn't really expect much from Asahi Production. I think the only flop they've really had so far is that, yes, when they first kind of do their transformation where the cleric Kumi becomes a part of Jiro, the paladin, the first point in which she's kind of powering up, for some reason they decided to use CGI, which I don't know why. It wasn't like there was anything incredible in that shot that they needed to use CGI. Kind of threw a sour taste in my mouth. And they even had this whole section where Jiro is like opening up, like he has a split down his middle, and so his entire body is splitting in half and splitting upwards, and she goes inside of him. And yes, it was CGI for a brief moment. Overall, I feel like the show itself is fun and it has really solid pacing. Like, nothing feels like it's sitting still and getting stagnant. And the world itself and the developments they're making is fine enough. Even though, again, it's going to kind of turn into the whole aspect of the Empire is just kind of trying to take over everything, and they're probably going to fight back against the Empire at some point. The more interesting thing was the art style itself, which I thought was kind of fascinating. Upon watching the show, and it seems like I'm not alone because I'm seeing a lot of people say this as well, I thought somebody from Grand Blue Fantasy was involved because, let's be honest, there's a lot of designs here that remind me of Grand Blue Fantasy, which is not a bad thing. I think character designs in Grand Blue Fantasy was one of its biggest selling points. I loved every character that popped in the screen in that series, but doesn't seem like anybody was involved. But yeah, besides the CGI, visually it looks solid. I like the character designs. I like the characters so far. Yes, you can make an argument that Kumi is a little bit too bubbly, even when it comes to situations where it feels like she realizes, oh, I just dusted that guy. And they kind of just go, don't worry about it. It was an accident. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for telling me it was an accident. I just dusted these, like, I've dusted like 5 people so far, but it was an accident, right? I don't know really how much they're going to get into Kumi, or if even Cleric should have really any kind of emotions. It seems like based on the 2 clerics we've seen so far, they do seem to have emotions. I think the biggest stain in the show so far is probably Mizami, which is this like guy that's chucking down gems and constantly watching Kumi and saying that she's a success as a test subject, and I don't know what his agency is in anything. But no, visually, it looks pretty solid. And there's tons of Kumi running scenes, which with long skirt kind of reminded me of a lot of like Ghibli films, with the girl just kind of running around like Kiki's Delivery Service, running around and stuff with the dress kind of flapping around. It really did kind of give me that feeling of that kind of style. So Asahi Productions really knows how to animate Kumi, at least running around really well. But anyhow, we'll see where it goes from here. Again, I'm going to hope that there's something overall story-wise that's going to be pretty interesting. But again, my expectations are kind of limited here, and it's not like this show has really blown me away so far. So we'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully it'll be something more than just cool action scenes and goofy, cute cleric girl that does goofy stuff and shenanigans. They got a pretty solid chemistry so far. Jiro's kind of the broken soldier. You have Kumi is kind of just the cutesy oblivious type, and then yes, you have Mia, who's just a dork. It's just a dork. I do have to say, side tangent here, this show is kind of one of those examples where I really wish that translators for subtitles would stop injecting quirks to the subtitles. I don't know if I'm the only one out there that doesn't already hear the nyas in Mia. There's obviously a verbal tick to Mia. It's kind of similar to the Kansai dialect, where they always try to put like some sort of southern twang into the subtitles just to emphasize that this is a Kansai dialect. So similar to here, it's obviously they got a nya, a cat-like quirk to it. And when they try to inject that into the subtitles, it's like sometimes it's so hard to read. And if you're watching a show and you're trying to enjoy the visuals, you're trying to quickly speed read. And so whenever you see like something just completely obscured by a nya inside there, it's just stop. I can hear the nyas. I don't need to see it in the text. I don't need you to put some stupid cat joke into the text. Anyways, that's just like a pet peeve of mine. I cannot stand it. And they're getting really crazy with it with Mia, because Mia does it a lot. I appreciate that it's creative. It's just, it makes it really hard to read. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Giant Beasts of Arse. Hopefully this video does not get demonetized because of the worst of Arse, because it's ARS YouTube. If not, I greatly appreciate everybody that supports us on Patreon, our tips link, our super thanks, and our membership button. But no, I greatly appreciate everybody that drops by here. If you like this video, make sure that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the series if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to that subscribe button so you got my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. But I thank everybody for dropping by, and y'all take care.